Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. Today I want to talk about something that I've struggled with quite a lot throughout my entire life, and a lot of people would be really surprised to hear this. What I want to talk about today is actually fear. Throughout my entire life, I have struggled a lot with anxiety, with fear, and basically, when everything happened with the pandemic and stuff, that fear really got intense. Fear of all of the uncertainty as to what was happening with our food system, fear with what was happening with the supply chains, and, if we were ever going to be able to, really be okay after all of it and stuff. And for the first year, of the pandemic, I was honestly a little bit terrified to leave the house and stuff like that, due to my own health conditions and stuff. So I was honestly really gripped with fear. Um, and it incited a little bit of panic buying with us, but due to our natural lifestyle of homesteading and things like that, we tend to have a lot of bulk items anyways. So it really wasn't anything like that super huge of a concern, because we knew that we could, float ourselves for a month or two if, we couldn't find toilet paper or flour or sugar, or we could just simply do without some of the stuff and substitute for other things. But the big fear was the uncertainty and feeling the fear of others all around me constantly. And it got to the point where I really isolated myself. I shut myself off from the rest of the world. Anyone that knows me on a personal level knows that I also completely stopped doing any social media, got off of Facebook, and did nothing. Like, I lived as a complete and utter hermit. Um, I pretty much just surrounded myself with as many plants and animals and learning as I humanly possibly could. This is Wilbur beside me, our billy goat. So that's kind of where I'm filming from right now. So if you see him running around, that's who it is. Um, but anyways, so I did everything that I could to really distract myself from what was going on. And I kept thinking all the time, and I'd have nightmares and not be able to sleep and stuff of, oh my God, like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And eventually I went, you know what? This is getting ridiculous. Like, I can't live my life like this. I can't. Like, it's not living if you're just constantly being obsessed with, what do I do if this happens? What do I do? What do I do? What if this? What if this? So what I started to do was I started to think about, okay, everything's fallen apart. The metaphorical shit has hit the fan. And, you know, there's nothing. What do I do first? So then I started thinking, okay, the first thing I would do was, make sure that my family was all together and stuff, that we could provide and figure things out. Then, there's a list of other things that you would do of, making sure your shelter was safe and, that you had access to water and food and yada, yada, yada. All those things. But what it made me realize was it wasn't just through the pandemic that that technique would work. It was through literally every single thing in my life. Like, I rely on my wife for a lot of financial support and stuff like that. I am a homemaker and stuff. I help raise our kids and, take care of the farm and all this stuff. And I've been afraid throughout our entire relationship of, oh my God, what if she died? What if she decided she didn't want to be with me anymore? Like, then what do I do? Like, honestly, what would I do? And I would get so worked up with fear that, like, it would have me all screwed up in the head for days, sometimes even weeks after I would just randomly think about that. So then after the pandemic happened and I realized this trick to basically bypass all of the fear that I had, I started applying that to every aspect of my life. Of, okay, what if Tracy died? And I would obviously get very upset when I would first think about that. And then I would go, okay, well, the game plan would still be the same. I would have to figure out how to pay all the bills, how to do all the things and stuff. And I would have to go back to working a traditional job. I'd have to cut down on, farming and, pursuing a life of self-sufficiency and stuff like that. It'd be greatly, dramatically decreased as to what I could do by myself. And then I thought, okay, it doesn't seem so scary if I come up with a plan for this. So then every other scenario that I could think of in my head of, you know, what if something like 9/11 happened again, but it was in our small local area? What if, the feed mill ran out of food? What would I do? What if this happened or that happened or all of the stores shut down? Or, there's a million different scenarios that you could come up with. But I realized that no matter what it was, the way to completely and utterly bypass fear and to get past it and stop living a life full of fear is to simply go, okay, I've accepted that that happens. Since I spend so much time in my head being afraid of this, I'm just going to pretend that it happened. What is my next step? What do I do first? How does my life change? My still needs are still the basic same, but how am I going to go about them in a different way since this life-changing event has happened and stuff? And from there, you pretty much conquer all of the grips that fear can have on you, and you realize that there's honestly nothing that you can't handle. There's nothing that you can't tackle. If you go, okay, I'm in a car accident. My legs don't work. What do I do? Your first step is still going to be call 911. You're not going to go, oh crap, my legs don't work. My life is over. Blah, 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 blah. You're going to go, okay, my first step is to call for help. Then after that, I'm going to go to the hospital. Then after that, sorry, he just bucked the phone. Then after that, I might need physical therapy or something of the sort like that. But you figure out that there's nothing. I am really sorry about that. He just completely knocked the phone out of my hands, put mud everywhere on it, but that's okay. We'll just roll with it. You realize eventually that there's honestly absolutely nothing that could ever control your life. There is no fear that is so big that could ever cripple you again if you can just sit there and think, okay, X, Y, and Z has happened. Now it's time for me to start plan A, B, and C. And that's just something that I was thinking about today as I was doing my nightly chores with the animals, is how I've really transformed from a life completely and utterly full of fear to one that is honestly, there's no room for fear in my life anymore. It's not that I just have some sort of unshakable faith. It's that when you live so afraid of so many different things and stuff like that, you have to figure out ways to cope with it, because the fear is always going to be there. You're still going to always have anxiety and always have all of these triggers and stuff like that. But the reality is you have to either sink or swim. And this is the only way that I've ever found how to swim truly and honestly. So I just figured I'd share that with you guys and hope that maybe it helped. And thank you for joining me. And if you guys like the type of content that you are seeing, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below about topics that you'd like for me to touch on, or your own struggles with fear and stuff like that. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see future videos as they are uploaded. And thank you for joining me, and have a great day.